Okay, so we're live.
Oh no. Was that an
That's a heck
echo?
of a way to start us off. Oh no, we're live.
Oh wait, that might have been me.
Okay, do you have the echo?
Yeah, no echo.
Okay, excellent. Let me make sure I've actually turned this thing on since I didn't turn it on last time. So we did a whole show without the microphone on.
Oh, did it not record?
It didn't record.
Oh
No.
no.
That's okay. So this is actually our first inaugural. So welcome again. We're doing it again for the first time. That's the whole concept of beginner's mind.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is a beginner's mind and a learner's mind.
Yes. Yes.
You can.
So you got two new kittens?
I do. They're very active though. They rarely stop and just sit, so I might not be able to get them on camera, but they're currently attacking each other on the floor.
And these are foster kittens?
I got them adopted already though, so we're just waiting for the mom to pick them up.
Oh, so how long do you have them?
I've had them for a couple of weeks now, and they're going home on Sunday. So
So have you gotten attached? Is it going to be hard to let go?
no, this was like I feel like I'm very practiced in this now, so it won't be a big deal. I think.
Got it. You've been through this before.
I've been through this before.
Cool.
Exactly.
Well, you're a good person for taking care of those foster kitties.
It's sort of selfish because it's nice to take care of them. I mean, they're messes and they're dirty sometimes, but there's fun in it.
Well, hopefully they'll show up for the camera at some point.
I know. Usually they'll come and sit on my laptop because of the warmth. So we'll see if that happens.
Right.
If my camera
Um,
suddenly
so,
turns off, you know why.
got it. Well, maybe you can answer a question for me.
Hmm.
What is catnip? What is it that drives those cats so crazy about catnip? I've always wondered.
Oh my God, that is a question for for the history books, I think, 'cause I don't even think I know what it is. It's like
What is it, like some type of alcohol? Like they're what? What is
it
it that makes them go crazy?
it makes them high, sort of like
Yes,
energized, sort of like caffeine to them.
but it's I've never seen anybody act like that after a cup of Starbucks. Or maybe,
Right.
but the whole point is they go nuts.
I know, it's so weird. I don't know what it is actually. That's a really good question.
All right, well maybe we'll have to do some internet searching to figure out what catnip is.
That's a great question.
But anyway, so I think we're all good. Finally, the audio and all that stuff is working. I've got myself situated where I think I can show stuff. Are you watching us now on your phone? You have it up,
I'm on
right?
the computer.
Okay. So
Hmm.
I'm still going to play around a little bit because um, I think there should be a way where you can see what I'm also seeing. Um, but we'll have to. I'm going to try to share the screen and stuff with Zoom and we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
But for the most part, I think we're ready. I think we're done. I think we're. This is it. This is official.
awesome.
Yeah, I know I've said that before. So,
Oh,
and until we get
it's
through this, I'm calling it official, unofficial. But
well,
anyway,
even if this isn't, it's been a fun experience,
good. That's the most important part. We're
right?
this has been truly like the beginner's mind. We've begun for 4 months.
I know. Okay,
Are you bringing Kitty into the camera?
yeah. He's so unhappy that I'm holding him.
Right. Put me down immediately.
Um,
Him or her,
it's a boy.
and what is his name?
We call him Bugs. Bugsy.
Bugsy.
Yeah.
Will the new foster parents keep the same name, you think, or do they get to choose their own name?
They get to choose their own name. Actually, his real name is Ebenezer, which he sort of isn't. Doesn't Ebenezer wear a hat like that?
Like my little,
Ebenezer Scrooge.
yeah, in Scrooge he does.
I think he does. Yeah,
So now he's Bugsy.
Bugsy. I think
So,
if you name a cat Ebenezer, you're setting him up for failure,
oh,
right?
what does cat failure look like? What happens when you fail as a cat?
That's cat failure. I mean, once you get adopted, you made it. You know, there's no
Oh, I see. Got it.
yeah, but it's the getting adopted part, and then you can just sit and sleep all day long and eat. Oh no, great.
It's the alarm. The place is on
It
fire.
turned
Run for
off.
your life.
It goes off all the time. We're in a brand new building, that's why.
So it just goes off randomly?
Hmm.
Oh, that's not annoying at all.
Oh, not annoying at all,
No.
especially in the middle of the night.
Yeah, for an alarm that's its whole purpose is to wake you up as jarringly as it can, to
Hmm.
have that go off whenever, that's not annoying at all.
I know. So how have you been? How's your?
I'm good. Um, like I said, it's taken us a while to get here, but we're here finally. So anyway, and right now it's just you and I. We're broadcasting live to the world, and there's no one else watching. So until we get some people to join us, it's still going to be a little bit of testing out and all that. And you said you have some people that might join?
Hmm. No, they
Nice.
will. Probably later on.
Okay. Excellent.
Hmm.
Um, so this is what I was thinking. I was thinking that I would try to figure out how to use some of this stuff along the way. Because what I really wanted to do was just use it as a way to, tell the story. And it's the story of Zen. This crazy thing called Zen. Um, and so I have some screens that I'm gonna put I'll put different things up, and then maybe we can talk about them, and then we can, as I said, as we go along, I can figure out how it all works and all of that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, look, let's put the most important camera on of all, which is the panda cam.
Oh, I like that. Um, the like blue lit up one.
The blue lit up one.
It's like a blue, like sculpture or something. It looks like a stained glass window or something like that.
Oh yes, that's so you're seeing my cam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, those are all different pictures that I've taken, but that's going to be the place where I can throw up different videos and stuff.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I'll share the screen. But I just put up the panda cam. And it looks like we have a little freezing in the panda cam. So this is the panda cam in China.
Oh, it's live.
Yes, this is the live panda cam.
Oh my god, that's
Um,
awesome.
some of it is highlights, some of it is live,
That's so cute.
right? It's panda. Might be cuter than kittens.
I think so. I think they might be. Come here.
And they're very zen.
They're very zen. I mean, if you just eat all day, they're probably very zen.
That's all they do. They sit around, they eat,
Hmm.
they scratch themselves, they sleep.
The videos with them with their handlers are so like when they dress up um, in panda outfits and so the pandas feel like safe or something or um, they're not afraid of them. It's so
Yeah, they have to dress up as a panda.
yeah, it's so
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Okay, so anyway, so we have the panda cam. And then we have my cam.
mm-hmm. You
Um,
should introduce this bird thing.
introduce what?
The bird in the corner of your camera.
Oh, yes, that's the Drunken Master cam. Let's see. I think people can see him when I put you on the full screen, so let me do that real quick. Yes, so on the top left is, that's the Drunken Master cam.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. Um, and of course we got that's the Insomniac Theater.
It's a motley crew.
Yes, it is. So I know that we talked about last time the whole idea of the beginner's mind,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously because we're beginning, I thought it was very appropriate. Um, but that koan of the beginner's mind is really at the heart of this whole idea of Zen, and the whole idea is being in a place where you're constantly renewing. Um, there's no expectation of what's going to happen in the future. And so the question I have for you is, do you believe in destiny? Do you believe in something out there in the future that you're destined for?
I don't know. I don't know if like I guess there's a difference between a destiny and predetermination. I don't think I believe in predetermination. I do believe that there's something that's like your higher self or higher importance that you are called here for. Here's one of the things.
So, um, what would you say is the difference between destiny and predetermination?
Like predetermination I think is people believe that someone or some entity has planned out every step of their life and that they're just sort of have no agency on where to go or what to choose. I think that is predetermination, and then destiny is like this end goal that you feel called to or that you hope to achieve. And it's sort of like your higher love and um, your calling sort of all mixed in one.
Okay.
You believe in
Um,
that? You believe in destiny?
do I believe in destiny?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll have to give you my answer after I figure out whether you believe in destiny. Um, because it kind of does depend upon the definition. Um, so let me see if I can't do one of those things that I was hoping to do, which is let's put you on the full screen. Yes. So I looked up the definition of destiny. And there are a couple definitions, obviously. But the first one is it says the events that will necessarily happen to a particular person or thing in the future. And so the idea of destiny is something that's bound to happen, something that's needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the point you were making about the difference between destiny and predetermination was that one may be feeling like they have some control over it, and
Yeah,
the other you don't have any control over it.
definitely.
And so I think what you're really talking about with predetermination is the idea of fate.
Mm-hmm.
And with fate, you're destined to arrive at some outcome without any control. And the definition is the development of events beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power. So the idea that there's some other force out there beyond our control that creates our fate.
Mm-hmm. That's the definition for fate?
That's the definition for fate, yeah. So if you've got your computer, I'm able to put up the definition on the little screen. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do, is to be able to show stuff as we talk.
Okay.
And so there's a second definition, though, as I said, for destiny that caught my attention when I found it. And the second definition says the hidden power believed to control what will happen in the future. And the hidden power part is the intriguing part. It's the idea, like fate, that there's something outside of us that we can't see, and it's hidden. And so that's kind of the part about destiny, is there's a mixture of saying that we control our destiny, and at the same time it's out of our control. And so
I could see that, the merits of that.
right, and so I guess that's the reason why I asked the question, do you believe in destiny? Because it's really asking the question of how much do you believe in the idea of control.
I do believe in destiny. I just don't want to conflate the fate part. I do believe in it. I believe sort of that you work for the culmination or arriving at your destiny.
Okay. Megan, I just want to make sure our audio is working here.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second. Okay. So you do believe in destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a destiny you see for yourself?
there's certain things that I want, a certain life that I envision, and that's what I see as my destiny. It's not really concrete, but I know sort of when I have the steps that I need to take to feel like I've achieved what I want to. Does that make any sense?
I think so. So, have you ever had the experience of feeling something or doing something or being someplace and say, I was destined to be here?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you mind sharing that? Do you remember something?
Yeah, well, I grew up going to, or basically living in the summers and on weekends in Santa Barbara, and that always, I've always felt like I've been called there, and I hope that I can end up there. Um, so yeah, that's sort of part of the vision, the destiny, I guess.
So, you grew up in Santa Barbara, is that what I heard?
Part time, partly.
And it's your destiny to be back in Santa Barbara?
I think so.
That's not a bad destiny to have.
No, it's not. I have to earn it though.
Right.
You don't
You
just
have to
get.
control your destiny. You're destined to be there, but you got to, yes, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So, how close to your destiny do you feel?
Decades away.
Taking the long road, I see.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, what's preventing you from going right now?
Um, there's just not a lot of I like being in the buzz of a city, sort of a bigger place where I can meet a lot of people. And Santa Barbara is more of a retirement place where
Got
you
it.
go once you're tired of all the people and the buzz of the city. You go there to escape.
Got it.
No,
So, you
it's
don't
not for
want.
me right now, but it will be for me
Okay. So
eventually.
I understand. You don't want to fulfill your destiny till you're ready to fulfill your destiny.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That is
Totally.
that is the ultimate definition of control. My destiny will only happen when I want it to, and I'm ready for it.
God, I sound so type A. Never thought I was, but
Well, amongst all the things to be destined for, Santa Barbara I wouldn't consider a type A place.
that's good.
Right? Maybe that's why you're destined for it. You're trying to work out all those type A things before you
Yeah,
get there.
yeah, it's probably right. It's probably very true.
The yin and yang of it all.
Do you have one?
Do I have a destiny?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of the whole question of Zen. That's the reason we started with the whole question of, do you believe in destiny? Is what do we control and what we don't control? And that's kind of why I did this whole thing, was so that we could talk about this thing called control. So I'm putting up the definition again of control. And the first definition I found was the power to influence or direct people's behavior or the course of events.
Hmm.
Right, so the whole idea of controlling the course of events is controlling destiny.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the other control aspect of controlling something mechanical. Um, like we control our TVs with a remote control. We control computers, all those things that we mechanically control. And then there's the last definition up here of the power to restrain something, especially one's own emotions or actions.
Mm.
And that's
Wait.
the control that Zen is all about, is the idea of, are we truly in control of our own actions and emotions? And if we are, who is that person that's in control? And what is he controlling? You know, we always have these things that we tell ourselves we should do. We should get up out of the bed, go to work, make a living, pay the bills, be a good person. Those are all things that we're trying to control, as opposed to the uncontrolled things we want to do, which is to stay in bed all day, pig out on desserts, and play video games all day. All those things that require our control, because for God's sakes, if we didn't control ourselves, it would be disaster. That's why I've got to set an alarm every morning, because if I don't set an alarm, if I don't control myself, I will never get up. And so the journey of Zen is this whole idea of, well, if that's the case, if we truly are in control of ourself, our emotions, and our actions, then who the hell is in control? Who is this person that's controlling all these things? And that's the question that Zen monks will go to monasteries and stare at a blank wall in meditation for hours upon hours and contemplate and think over and wonder, who is this person in control? And they'll face that battle. I use the word battle. It's not really a battle. That introspective journey to challenge themselves, at the same time to liberate themselves from this controller. Because as we all know, one of the most difficult things in the world for any of us to do is to be still and do nothing. Right? The whole idea of sitting down in meditation for 5 minutes is terrifying. Sit down, do nothing, be still for 5 minutes, let alone for hours like these Zen monks. There's no way I could do that. Yet these monks are going through the process of saying, no, I'm going to be able to control myself so that I can sit and be there for hours and hours and hours. Because what I really want to do is to release myself from that need to control. So it isn't a battle, it isn't a fight to sit here for hours and hours and hours. And that's the dance with control that Zen monks are doing. So when you hear about meditation and all those things, you know, meditation is the hot, new, spiritual, cool thing to do. And there are lots of different meditations out there for sure, and there are lots that do different things and are all focused on some aspect of introspection or meditation. But the reason why Zen has always been something that's so peculiar to me and so fascinating to me is that the very point of meditation for Zen is the idea that there's no point to meditating. That if you decide that you're going to meditate because you think that you're going to get something out of it, that you're seeking some type of control, that you're seeking some place, that's the opposite of Zen. And so I always wonder about these folks who are meditating these days, and I wonder what kind of meditation they're doing, because If it's Zen, God bless them. If it's not Zen, if they're not doing it for this purpose, then I really wonder why they're sitting there trying to figure out how to sit still for an hour or whatever. Because it's just reinforcing the idea of control, right? So that's kind of the point of it. Is the Zen journey is this idea of saying, I'm trying to understand and dance and walk with control. I'm not trying to control control. Or as Alan Watts, my favorite Zen master of all, says, you know, who guards the guards? His whole concept is, you know, the idea that I'm going to control myself to let go of control. Well, you've just elevated the control one more level up. The other metaphor Alan Watts uses is, it's like the cops who come blaring with full sirens and lights on to announce to a robber they're coming. Right? Of course, once you know that they're coming, you're going to take off. You're going to say, oh, no, I'm not in control. And that's the crazy thing about Zen. It asks you, this journey is a journey of trying to be truthful about the fact that we're all struggling with this idea of control. And the minute we think we have control is the minute we've lost control. And so that's why this word destiny, as I said, is such an important part of Zen. It's, are we destined someplace because we control it? Are we destined someplace because that's just the way we felt? At every step along the journey, it felt right to take the next step. It was never a fight. It was never, I need to do this because. It just was something we felt we needed to do. And then as we look back, we go, oh wait, this was my destiny. It feels right to be here. So I think from that place, that's the place that I would say I believe in destiny. Is I think that every step we take, every action we take, if we do it in a way that feels right, that's harmonious, that's in flow, as I always say, then every step, I think, is a step in our destiny. Where those steps lead us, well, that's a different question. That I don't know. And that's the part of Zen, I think, surrendering control is all about, is to say, I don't know and I can't know where those steps will take me. But if I take each step as naturally and as harmoniously as I can, I'll be where I need to be, by necessity. So that's my answer. And I think that's kind of the reason why I'm doing Insomniac Theater, is that it feels right. And that every step along the way, hopefully it will be my way of trying to understand this crazy thing called Zen.
How do you learn to act harmoniously? That's the question, right?
Yes, and you just hit the nail on the head. You just said, how do you act harmoniously, right? In our very language, we have the problem of being natural versus acting, right? I love the phrase, act natural.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be natural, just act natural. Pretend to be natural. And that at its core is the whole concept of it, is we're all acting. We're all pretending to be in control. And that little pretender that pretends to be in control is acting like they're in control. And so that's what gets them the job that they need. That's what gets them the friends and things and all the desires that they have, is that we all pretend to be in control. We all pretend to be acting natural when we're out in the real world. And that's the real hard part about Zen, is that this crazy thing, Zen, asks you to strip yourself of the mask. Stop pretending. All those things where we're trying to act natural, it's just getting in the way. There's another Zen metaphor, and it's about the thieves, the robbers that are under surveillance by the cops, and they whisper to each other. They know they're being watched, and they whisper to each other, "Act natural." Mm-hmm. Right? But how do you act natural when you know you've done something wrong?
I know. I don't know. I have nightmares about that. Like, I don't know how people like murder somebody or something and then just act, or they're just normal after. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and that's the inherent Zen conflict, right? The deeper that conflict between what you know to be true versus how you act, that's the division. That's the freeing yourself in the liberation that Zen talks about, is that the more you can say, wait, I act and feel exactly the same, that's the Zen flow, the harmony, versus somebody that always feels like they have something to hide. And so in feeling like they have something to hide, they have to act a certain way to pretend they don't have something to hide. And you can do that for a while. People get really, really, really good at that because they spent their lifetime doing it. But there is one place where that truth always, always, always comes out. And that's at night. When we're trying to go to bed and we know that there's something we are hiding, that's when we can't fall asleep, because we know we're hiding something. And that anxiety and those neurotic thoughts that keep us up, whether that is something that we've done criminally, something that we know we shouldn't have done that was really bad, or the fact that, you know what, I probably should have done my homework or something like that. The smallest things can be the thing that still keeps us up because we feel like we have something to hide. We're not prepared. We can't be natural. We have to act natural. And that's the Zen journey of trying to figure out, why am I trying to act natural instead of just being natural? What am I trying to hide? And what turns out is that all those things we're trying to hide are the very things we're trying to control. And so control becomes our window into the things we're trying to hide. The things that we're trying to control, that we can't admit we don't control, are the very insecurities that keep us up at night. And so that's the Zen journey, as I said, is to turn toward it, to be introspective in a way that says, I'm going to try to shed some light on these insecurities, to open the closet doors that I'm really, really not comfortable with. Because those closets, all those skeletons, all those things that we're deathly afraid of, that's who we are. That's what makes us us. And it can be really scary to go, that's me? Ooh, I don't like that about me. I'd rather hide. And so for me, some of these Zen masters that I know, I think are some of the most courageous people on the planet. So courageous that they'll go spend hours and hours in meditation staring at a blank wall to go face these very demons and fears. They're not running. They're doing the exact opposite. They're saying, I want to overcome my insecurities and my fears so deeply that I will spend everything I have to face them. I'm going to turn fully into it. And so that's why a lot of these folks do what these Zen monks do, go off of these mountains. But I think there's another way to do it. Well, the real answer for Zen is that there's lots of ways to do it. We're all doing it all the time. And I think one of the best places to do it is in this place, in this transition between night and day. In this place where the things we're trying to hide, the things we're trying to run from, we can't run from anymore. So this is the place that's meant to say, okay, let's talk about those things we're hiding from. And if they get too scary, we have pandas. And kittens.
And kittens who don't care about us at all.
No, they're like problems. There are no problems.
I know.
That's why they're Zen masters.
Yeah, I know.
They sit around, they eat all day, sleep all day. So I thought what I would do is, this leads me to the but you know what, how about this? I've got a video. I did a video with Alan Watts that I'm going to play. Maybe I'll do that for the end.
Okay. What is it?
It's about sleep, right? The whole point of Insomniac Theater is this idea that it's to create a place where people are so bored that they just fall asleep, right? This is meant to be a clear your mind. All these deep philosophical things that we talk about are meant to be exactly that, nothing more, just musings. And so Alan Watts, in his own way, is one of the best musers, is that how you say that? In the world, and he talks about sleep and the importance of it. So I'll leave that for the end, but everything's leading towards that, right? Why are we here? Why am I here? Is to help people through this place, which is, it could be a very scary place, facing our demons and facing our hidden insecurities. It's why it's so difficult to fall asleep sometimes. And so if we can help some people fall asleep, that's not a bad destiny.
No. Would you consider yourself an insomniac?
I've definitely had insomnia at times. We can certainly get into those times when I've had it, and they are those times where it has been the worst, have been the times where I was in the blackest, darkest moments of my Zen journey. I made a decision to follow the Zen path because it felt right, but I did, I knew what I was getting into. I made a conscious choice to get into it and to follow it. And as I said, it is a place of trying to expose our deepest insecurities. And so I think anybody that's on this path is going to have some very difficult times. And so I went through some really difficult times along this journey that for sure, sleep was the last thing on my mind. But I do have some things that help me along the way, and those are things that I'm hoping will help other people who may or may not be there. But yeah, this place of darkness, it's a place that can be very scary. It's why we can't sleep. A lot of us, many of us at times, and I'd say that every one of us at some point in time are going to have those difficult moments. So that's as good a purpose as any, I think, for Insomniac Theater, is if we can help people fall asleep. Success.
It's interesting because for me, my insomnia comes when I'm like at the highest, like I'm the happiest, I guess. Like I don't want to go to sleep.
Is that the fear of missing out syndrome?
Yeah, totally. But like in all other areas of my life, I don't have any problem. But it's when I'm very excited or yeah, something really important is happening. That's I when I can't sleep, which I think is the opposite from for most people. They can't sleep when things are going bad.
I think that happens on both sides of the spectrum. That's the Zen journey, right? The whole idea that when you're on top of it and feeling good, there's a whole idea that you want to hold on.
Mm-hmm.
You're attached to the whole moment and saying, oh, I don't want this to end. I want this to keep on going. At the other end of it, there's nothing left to hold on to. And so those are the yin and yang of this Zen place. You're absolutely right. Is that there's the bright shining light that is so bright we can't fall asleep, and the dark, dark emptiness that's so dark and so empty that we can't fall asleep. Those are the two places. And most of us tend to be somewhere on the spectrum, somewhere along the way. So, like I said, if people are on either end of the spectrum, if they tune in Insomniac Theater and they're bored to tears and they fall asleep, or they tend to hear something that says, oh, that can make me feel better and I'll fall asleep, I think either way we can declare success. Okay, so I'm going to turn to the last word, which I've been leading up to.
I don't have a panicky installed.
Oh yeah, I'll have to look into that. You've heard of, well, these days it's all about Donald Trump and politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea of government, who's in control, right? Democrats, Republicans. Is it the president? Is it Congress? Is it the Supreme Court? And so there's a word called governor. So government obviously is a form of governor. And I put the definition up. It's the elected executive head of a state in the United States. So, you know, you could be a governor of New York or Texas. But the whole idea of governor, obviously, as I said, comes from the idea of govern, right? It's different than a mayor or sheriff. The word governor is a root of govern, has a root of govern. And there's another way to think about governor besides somebody that is the head of a state. Have you heard of the idea of a governor on an engine?
No.
Or a motor? No? Okay, there are certain types of apparatus that are called governors for machines. A furnace will have a governor. So if a furnace that is keeping water hot, for example, we all have furnaces in our house that keep water hot. Well, you know that sometimes if you have boiling water and you keep it contained, the pressure builds up. And eventually what happens is that pressure will get so high that the water heater will blow up. It becomes a bomb. And so it can be a really dangerous thing, because if you don't have some way to get rid of the heat, the thing could explode. And of course, that's what happened. When water heaters first came out, they sold them, and sometimes they would get clogged, and the person that owned the water heater was taking a shower, pour or something like that, didn't know it was clogged, and next thing you know, the thing explodes. And it hurt a lot of people. And so there were regulations that said, you know what, we got to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we have to have a safety valve. In case this thing gets too hot, the excess heat will be shunted off in a different direction and it won't explode. And a governor is meant to do exactly that. Is that when, for example, a governor on a furnace, if it gets too hot, it will kick in and turn down the heat. So this governor, this apparatus, this thing we add to the machine, protects the machine from going too far into the red. Cars, automobiles tend to have a governor on their engines. You know, if you drive, you see the little red zone on the RPM meter. Most cars today, if it ends up going, if they go into the red zone, the RPMs go too fast, a governor in the engine will kick in and manually slow down the car. So you can't, even if you put your foot on the pedal, you can't go further into the red zone. That's what the governor is meant to do. And so the whole concept of the governor is back to the idea of Alan Watts, who guards the guards. Who's putting in the safety barrier, the safety margin, says, okay, when it gets too far into the red, we need to make sure that there's some type of safety valve here that says, whoa, wait a minute, it's in the red, slow down. We need a governor. And the Zen notion of the governor is exactly that, is we all have a governor inside of us. That person in control is really just one big governor. So when we get in, when we go to bed and fall asleep, if we don't have an alarm, the governor at some point in time will wake us up and say, we got to get out of bed. We can't stay in bed forever. It's just too lazy if we stayed in bed. And if we stayed in bed all day, that would we'd inevitably end up in the red zone. It would be really bad for us. So this governor better kick in and say, okay, get out of bed. We also have that same governor when we're eating, right? There's a big plate full of dessert in front of us that we love. At some point in time, the governor kicks in and says, oh, wait a minute, red zone. That was 3 slices already. I can't have a 4th because that would really put me in the red zone. Right? So the whole concept of a governor is something that stops us from going too far. Now the problem with the governor, though, is the Zen problem. Is at what point do you set the governor? At what point do you say this is gone too far? And what are you trying to govern? And the Zen problem is that you can never know where to set the governor unless the thing has blown up before. It's only after you find out you've gone into the red zone. It's only after you've realized you've gone too far that you can come back again and go, okay, I need a governor there. Because before then, you will never know you need a governor, right?
Right.
And that's the idea of the beginner mind, is that the beginner mind has no governors. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. It can go and go and go without worry because it's ungoverned. Versus the expert mind that has broken down many times and says, oh wait, I know when it's about to break down, so I know what my limits are, I know what the governor needs to be and where to govern. But of course, those governors are artificial boundaries. They're meant to be places that institute control before it's really necessary to institute control. And so Shunryu Suzuki's idea of beginner mind and having many possibilities, as opposed to the expert mind who has few, which is governed, that's the Zen koan of finding that sweet spot between the beginner's mind that's ungoverned and can run free and natural without inhibition, limitations. Yet also the expert mind that says, oh wait, I know when and how far and what to do without constraining that beginning mind. And so that's the Zen journey, is, as Shunryu Suzuki said, to treat everything as the beginner's mind. Yet, of course, we can only begin once. And so the minute we begin, we become an expert.
The minute we begin, we become an expert.
Meaning that you can only begin once. Right? By definition, you can only start once. After you've done it once, you're an expert having done it once. And so that's the metaphor for sleep. What's that?
How do you be a beginner while also doing those things that you already have done before?
How do you say that again?
Is it just the mindset that, because you can't be an expert and a beginner at the same time?
I wonder, can you? That's That's the question, isn't it? That's why Shunryu Suzuki gave us the Zen koan to think about, to noodle over, is can we begin over and over as if we're beginners, yet feel like we're experts in this? Are we in control of our destiny or not? Are we letting go of where we're headed, or are we saying, this is where I must go? It's the same Zen koan.
I wonder if they live in two different places. Like, the expert can be in the skills. Like, if you work with your hands, having expert hands. But then the beginner lives in the mind. Or in the mindset.
I think it's all of that. I think it's all of the above. And I think that's the place the Zen koan leads, is all of the above. And I think that when you push this Zen koan to its boundaries, again, these are koans are meant to be something you meditate over and think over and over. So I've given this one much meditation and much thought. I think the deeper you go into it, the ultimate place it leads is to unconditional love. And that, I think, is where we're headed, is that's the purpose of Insomniac Theater. I think this is the place that allows us to fall asleep at night, is when we reach this place of unconditional love. You know, it's love without condition. What is the word control? What is the word of governor? Right? Conditions. I will love you under these conditions. I will love you so long as I'm in control. And I think the place of Zen, you know, that's the expert mind in many ways. And I think the Zen path is to say, no, the only place of genuineness and authenticity and contentment and flow is unconditional love. Now, getting to that place, and if that place is actually even real, that's the journey. Right, that's the expert mind that says, I'm going to see if I can find this place by keeping a beginner mind. And that's the ultimate metaphor for Insomniac Theater too, because this is what we do every night. Right? By the end of the day, we are all experts at the day.
That's true.
To only fall asleep at night to become beginners again.
I like that.
And that is this powerful, powerful place of sleep. To be able to turn off our expert mind for a moment and say, I'm going to bed so that I can become a beginner again.
Yeah, I really like that. It's like, as every minute comes and goes, you're an expert at that minute, but it's gone in a second, and literally a second, and your expertise is gone.
It's the beauty of the day.
Yeah.
And the night.
I like that.
And so that's what Zen masters know, Alan Watts know. That's what I'm continuing to learn every day, every night. And so that is the reason why I chose this video from Alan Watts that I'll play. And I think it's a nice way to end our first Insomniac Theater So what I think I have to do here, what I'd like to do is I want to see if I can keep you on the screen.
Okay. We got a chat too. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, did I? I'm not.
Fan of the nightcap.
I'm so new to this. haven't even paid attention. So let me play this again. This is all first time, so it's going to be... You may have to watch this on your computer.
Okay. I'll put it on.
Okay. Let's see how I'm going to do this. Okay, I think I know how to do this. Okay, yes. And I'm going to put this on the big screen. Yes. Okay, so you have your computer on?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I see it.
All right, excellent.
Do you know that sleep is a very mysterious subject? Scientific students of sleep are not yet at all sure what sleep is. Apparently people need it, but nobody really knows why they need it from a strictly scientific point of view. And we apparently need to dream in sleep also. People who are deprived of dreams get very, very restless and unhappy. But we're not quite sure why we need dreaming. I mean, we've got all sorts of theories, the Freudians and the Jungians and so on. They think they know why we need to dream. But it hasn't been really rigorously established scientifically why we do or why we need to sleep. But from a naive point of view, you can say, of course I need to sleep. Because after I've had a whole day of business and friends and work and so on, it's too much. There's too much input. I want to digest it. And while I'm digesting it, I don't want any more input. I don't want any more information. So I want to be turned off. That's, one of those simple common sense things that everybody knows, but has not yet been fully explained. So sleep is this marvelous thing that we have, which is a forgettery process that is apparently essential to our psychic health every 12 hours or so. And if you don't get it, you start getting worried. As a matter of fact, insomnia is a thing that is rather curious. Because if you do get insomnia, the worst thing of all to do is to worry about it. Invariably, if I can't sleep, I don't try to go to sleep, I get up and work. Or do something. Or I read a very difficult book, especially one that is big and weighs a lot. This is a good way to go to sleep. But if you have insomnia, don't ever try to go to sleep. Nobody can try to go to sleep. Lots of mothers think they can get their children, and they say, darling, try to go to sleep. Didn't your mother say to you, try to go to sleep? Or she wanted to get you out of the way. That was the only reason she said, try to go to sleep. Or she thought perhaps it was good for you, and that you ought really to get your sleep. It's like telling some child that it's got to eat its spinach. This is a form of the double bind. You are required to do that which will be good only if it's done voluntarily. So try to go to sleep. It is impossible. Sleep has to happen because it's a spontaneous activity, and it can be helped, as we shall see when we come to consider torpor. But by and large, sleep is a spontaneous activity and is a way of turning yourself off to get away from the bombardment of awareness and forget, because forgetting renews. And that also is a function of all demolitions, of deaths, of destruction of patterns, of knocking down buildings, of the whole change process in the universe. Because we want to do what we've done before over again, only if you remember it too often, it'll become boring. So if you forget, then you can do it again, and it'll be just as amazing as it was the first time. And so there absolutely has to be a forgettery built into this universe in just the same way and for just the same reasons that there must be an eliminative process in the body as well as an eating process. And both are vitally important. And you see, we have very different attitudes to the two. Eating is something we do socially, eliminating is something we do privately. Eating we consider, we want the all good smells and all that kind of thing. Eliminating is all bad smells and that kind of thing. Well, this is largely social conditioning that tells us this. But nevertheless, these are the two sides of the game we play, and there's a spectrum between the two. So in the same way here, you have to forget, just as you have to eliminate, so that everything is renewed, because it can happen again without being boring. Things that happen all the time, in any way, begin to pass out of consciousness. For example, if there is a constant noise going on while we're talking, it will annoy us at first, but after a while we shall cease to notice it, if it's constant. But if it keeps varying, and coming on in different volumes and different rhythms, it'll hold our attention all the time. So anything that just goes diggity-ding, 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 you eventually cease to notice. So then, sleep is the renewer, because it's the state of forgetfulness. To be a human being, you have to love the light, but you also must trust yourself to the darkness. Be able to let yourself go in the faith that you'll arrive back all in one piece. But this is all to do with letting yourself go into the earth, into the darkness, as it were, and trusting the world that lies below you as much as you might trust the world that lies above you. Drop. Fall freely in space. That's a marvelous sensation. It's like floating. That's why people do skydiving. Because just until they pull that parachute, they have the sensation of flying. Even though they're dropping very fast, they get the sensation. Total freedom. Whee! See? That's what everybody's looking for. So we get that in a way in sleep. The arms of Morpheus. And the idea of sleep as healing. Some psychiatrists are very keen on the idea of putting their patients, by hypnosis and other methods, into long, long periods of sleep, where they feel completely secure, looked after, nothing to worry about. I have a favorite sleeping place. It's a house on top of the hills in Hollywood, where there's a great eucalyptus tree, and underneath this there is a deck. And I like to get a sleeping bag and lie on my back underneath this eucalyptus tree, look up at the stars through the shadows of the leaves, and just go. See, it is a marvelous feeling.
Yes, Alan Watts is the ultimate.
Wait, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, now I can. Now I can.
Okay. Yes, Alan Watts is the ultimate. He's the best.
God, that was great. I feel so relaxed right now.
Yeah, so I thought we would maybe use that as our credits, our closing credits. We could always just play that at the end, and
Yeah, I like that.
people can watch and we can sign off.
I like that a lot.
And that's our first Insomniac Theater. Yay us.
Yay, us. We have all of our videos and mics working.
Yes,
We
hopefully.
visit from Alan Watts, which was a big deal.
And I'm going to close this out with pandas. They're sleeping.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, perfect.
You're dead asleep.
I have a couple more things that I wanted to go through with you and a couple more episodes. But I know that we have to figure out schedules and stuff like that. But now that we're up and running, the best part is that we can do this at any time. And as I said, what I'd like to do is get to a place where, we can invite the world. So I'm sorry I missed whoever was on the chat, but like I said, that's supposed to be another place where we bring people on board.
Yeah.
So maybe both of us have to be on that chat. We both have to be doing stuff.
Okay. Well, good night.
Okay, so I'll reach out later and we can figure the rest of this out. But thanks for coming on Insomniac Theater.
Thanks, Henry, for having me.
All right. Sleep tight.